Hey, it's Andy from Seraph here. I'm going to show you how to start a project, any sort of web dev project. So I want you to understand the basic principles because if you're learning coding languages, if you've learned R, Python, Java, C++, PHP, Node.js/JavaScript, you'll notice that a lot of them have very similar things. It's very similar learning them. They all have like variables, functions, conditionals, loops, sometimes objects. You're learning the same stuff over and over again, and it's the same thing with the web dev principles. So I'm actually going to show you how to start a project in 3 different languages, 3 different frameworks. So Express.js for Node, Python Django for Python, and then Laravel for PHP. And that's just because I want you to understand the principles, the concepts, the basics, so you can apply them to anywhere. Okay, so the steps, you're going to want to install the language on your computer. So install Python / the dependency manager. So like pip. For Express, it's Node, and npm for PHP. It's like a PHP server, like MAMP or XAMPP or something like that. And then their dependency manager, I think it's Composer. Okay, if like it's Java and Maven. So install the language in the dependency manager, and then second, read the docs. They have quick start guides to tell you exactly how to start a project. That's it, simplified to the max. Now I'm going to show you examples of me doing that. So good luck. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to the backend monolith section. And I realized, this is the first video, by the way, but I realized I've left something important out, actually starting the project. So in this video, we're going to go over starting projects in general. Now, before you start any project, you should have a text editor just to write your code. I personally like VS Code. That's the one I use. And we're going to go over using frameworks. You got like Express for Node, Laravel for PHP, and Django for Python, just because frameworks make things so much easier, so much faster. I would recommend using frameworks whenever you can. So there's really 2 steps in starting a project. Installing what you need to install, and then reading the docs to show you how to install it. I'm showing you 3, Express, Laravel, and Django, just because in web dev it's kind of the same everywhere. I want you to see patterns. Like if you're learning a coding language like Python, JavaScript, or PHP or C#, you'll notice they all have variables, they all have functions, they all have conditionals, they all have loops, and most programming languages have objects too. There's things that just you learn over and over again, and I want you to see those patterns. So let's show you what you gotta do. Now you have to install the language. So Node, you'll install Node. For PHP, for Laravel. I like MAMP because you need a server to run your PHP, and then a place for your database. I like MAMP. Other popular ones are XAMPP and WAMP. I have the link for both Mac and Windows, but this is where like the database and your server is going to be. And then you'll notice with Node you get npm, which is like where you store your packages, like payments and stuff like Stripe. That's like a package. So the one in PHP is Composer. We go home, see dependency manager for PHP. So you'll like install it, and the Composer installation is kind of difficult, to be honest, even with Mac. So I'm in Mac. I don't know how to install it on Windows. Oh, it tells you how to install it on Windows. But for Mac, see, it tells you to move the file you installed down to here. and you'll see Composer. When you download it, it's going to be composer.far, but I changed it to Composer. So in the terminal, I can run Composer instead of composer.far. Okay, so I changed the name to Composer. So right now, as you see, I'm showing you how to install everything you need. And then, so you installed Node, you installed MAMP for your server, your PHP server database. You installed Composer. Now in terms of Python, if you want to learn Python, you're going to have to download Python itself. You're going to need a virtual environment. So Python, pip3. So pip is like the Composer and the npm for Python. So a virtual environment that holds all your dependencies, kind of like pip. So it's like your own personal pip, and it helps things for deployments, keeping track of all your packages and extra stuff. It's like stuff for emails, like Node Mailer, Mailgun, and Stripe for payments. Okay, so once you've installed everything, you can literally just go to the documentation sites and they tell you exactly how to get started. I'm going to move all of the installation stuff over here. Cool. Okay, I don't think I have Laravel up. Laravel docs. There we go. Okay, so how do we go to my terminal, and we'll start off with Node. So I'm going to cd into Node, and let's see what we're going to use. Express, that's the framework we're going to use. So it says npm init, so we'll type that in. Yeah, the entry point, so that's the main file in Node. I don't care about any of this stuff. This is cool. So if you see, we have our Node project so far. And we'll go, Node's very bare bones, but we have a Node project right now. So we have to add a bunch of stuff to it. So that's how you start an Express project. So we'll go cd ... So we're going back into the start folder. I'm going to go cd to PHP to start our Laravel project. And let's go to the Laravel docs to see how to install stuff. Composer, require Laravel installer. Okay, so you want to type that in. I already installed the Laravel installer though, so it's all good. Laravel. Once installed, then Laravel. Create directory. Okay, via Composer create project. So you can either install the Laravel thing and then use this, or you can use Composer, which we installed before. So let's do this. Let's type that in. So you'll notice this is all just kind of mumbo jumbo, and then this is the name of our project, blog. So we're inside, let's see what it does. And this will take about 2 minutes. So I'm going to go into a new terminal. You'll see it's installing all this Laravel stuff. In Node, it's very bare bones because you make everything yourself. In Laravel, it gives you everything. So we're going to start again. So let's learn how to do it in Django. Okay. First of all, cd python. If you don't know what I did, I created a new called a new tab with this plus button. So we're in the start folder again, so we're seeding into Python. Okay, so cd Python, and let's start a virtual environment so we can keep track of all our dependencies. So I'm on a Mac, so I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do that, but if you don't have the virtual environment installed, you should do that. And creating our virtual environment, so it tells you how to do that, and then this env at the end, that's the name of the virtual environment. Awesome. So so Python and env. Let's check on the Laravel project. It's done. So if we go back to Laravel, you can see we have our project installed. Everything's good. Now we're in Python. I'm going to go back to the second terminal. We're in the Python thing. Okay. So we have our virtual environment in there. Now we have to activate it. And you'll see this env here. We called our virtual environment env, so it's saying our virtual environment's activated. And if we do pip install Django, actually it should tell you in the docs. Okay, it doesn't, but that's okay. So if you do pip install Django and you have the virtual environment activated, then it'll install it into the virtual environment instead of like on your computer. Okay, cool. So we have everything's all good. Now creating a project tells you, the docs tell you this command. So start project, my site, it'll be called my site. Okay. Did it work? Let's reload. Okay, yeah, so our Django project is created. Okay, so that's how you create projects. You install everything you need for the, so you like install like the language. Yeah, let's go back. So Node, Laravel, Python. If you were installing, like if you were doing like a Java Spring Boot or something like that, just read the docs, install Java. See, they tell you everything what to do for Java Spring Boot. C#.net. They'll also tell you what you need to install. So you'll need to install like the language, stuff like that. It's all about reading docs. So install what you need to install, and then go to the documentation, and it'll tell you getting started installing Laravel, installing. The virtual environment's kind of complex, but if you read like the docs, Django, writing your first app, Java, and my computer's heating up, so it's making a lot of sounds. Quick start. C#.net. See, so this is the patterns for starting projects. Install what you need to do and read the docs. I hope that was helpful. I hope you know how to start projects now. In the future, we're going to get after more complex, cooler stuff, like taking payments, sending emails. But in the next one specifically, we're going to talk about databases and how to work with databases. So, best of luck.